everybody, it's Trent from Austin Custom Brass. Hope you're doing superb today. Today's mini lesson, I want to show you something that I work on regularly because I think a lot of players get overwhelmed by thinking they have to learn about 5 trillion patterns when it comes to jazz improvisation. But this is something that I learned from one of my gurus, the late great Charlie Banakis, and it sort of morphed into a take on my own. And one of the big things that I always think younger musicians do when they improvise is they think notes. In other words, for instance, I'll show you right up here. So if you see that, that's a simple pattern in C major. D, E, B, C, and I'm not going to transpose, by the way. So it sounds something like this. You can easily take that through 12 keys. Anyways, but I think a lot of times what we do when we learn things like this is we only focus on the numbers. The notes. What I want to show you is the following. So if you thought about improvising less with the notes and thought more of the numbers, when you go to transposing, it's so much easier. I can look at that number sequence on my screen and it's almost instant in terms of how quickly I transpose. The greatest thing about this, though, is as you increase your language skills, we'll say, when you get to something like a dominant seventh, if I bring back the first one and I play that as a simple dominant seventh, the only note that I really have to change as a simple dominant seventh is the B natural goes to B flat. That's kind of boring. No offense. I'd rather really get things more going with things like this. Here's the first take on this on a dominant seventh. You see that right there. Now look at the following. We have E flat. I spelled it enharmonically different, but and then we have a G flat, an E flat, and a D flat. So now instead of the first one, which I did, we have super cool and super hip. You could keep adding to those by doing things like this one. Now we have a flat 9 with the D flat. We have a G flat or sharp 11 or flat 5, and then we have a flat 9 at the end. So this one sounds like this. So you're still following the curvature of the line. Eventually, you really want to think less. Oh, that's another one. Hold on. Oh, that's another one too. Think less of those, but just think of the number sequence. So then you say, okay, I want the 9 to be natural 9, flat 9, or sharp 9 is in a dominant seventh. Or I want the 3 to be a lower third or sharp 9. I want the 5 to be a flat 5. So on and so forth. They can maximize so much when we're talking about how we want to develop a line. Let me bring up a couple ones on diminished that you can check out as well. So check this out. So now this is diminished. Very cool. It's still following the same curve of the line, but it's no longer or now it's on diminished. Or you can go even a little bit further with that, and now instead of taking the A, which is the double flatted seventh, we can turn it into a leading tone, a B, which is technically the 15 of a chord. So you have all of this diversity that you can use in your soloing, which is pretty cool if you think only in numbers. So write out a few patterns. I highly suggest writing out a few patterns just with this numerical sequence like you see above, and take it through all the major tonal centers, be it major, dominant seventh, minor, diminished, augmented, sus, things like that. If you have any questions about this, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them as well. So follow your numbers. It will hopefully follow your chord shapes and give you a lot of awesome things to practice in the future. If you have a second, hit that subscribe button over there to stay up to date with all of our product offerings and all of our mini lessons on ACV's site. Thanks so much for your great support of the shop.